Welcome, everyone. We're so happy to be here and really appreciate you taking out an hour to spend with us today. Just a brief introduction of the topic. We're discussing accelerating growth with outsourced lead generation, sales reps, so sales development reps, and virtual receptionists. So I am Maddy Martin. I'm the head of growth and education. I've got Andra Hedden here, the chief marketing officer for Marketopia. And we are going to at least first start with an introduction of the topics, and then we'll talk a little bit about ourselves, our backgrounds, why we're sort of legitimately here in front of you today, and then go into the topics at hand. So to start with, we're going to talk about the common sales issues of small business owners. A lot of small business owners face the same plaguing issues year in, year out, and they are worse this year than ever, probably, given the COVID crisis that we're in. But it's not, that much different. It's just sort of more of the same demons that plague the small business owner. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about client communication gaps between businesses and their leads and also their clients. We'll talk about evaluating lead gen programs. How do you know what a quality lead gen program is? What are the components of a good lead gen program? And then how outsourced sales reps, virtual receptionists, and live chat agents or even chat bots play a role in facilitating communication and lead capture after that initial generation phase. We'll also discuss screening and scheduling workflows. How do you get actual work done on those initial calls on the front line where the leads are contacting you to really capture and book those new leads in the moment. Also, making website chat, SMS, and Facebook Messenger work for your business, that is absolutely key right now. We see that the Nielsen data is saying there is more screen time than ever. People are maybe escaping work, families, other duties, just sort of having a light break. And they are also taking to social media to find the businesses that can help them solve their own business problems and needs. We'll also discuss the pitfalls to avoid with sales reps and answering services that Andra and I have seen in the industry. How do you sort of mitigate any potential risks and downfalls and pitfalls? And then the last thing is how to resell receptionist chat services, how to partner with a company like Marketopia so that you can reduce your own cost of these services so that you can grow faster in order to focus your time and serve clients better where your time is best spent. So taking a moment now to hand it off to Andra, and she'll explain what Marketopia is.
Sure. So thank you, Maddy. Hi, everyone. We are really excited, obviously, to chat through today's topic with you. What I'm sharing right now on the screen is really just to do a quick level set. I have many conversations, and my team does as well every single day. We've heard of your name, and we're curious about what exactly it is that you do. So I like to just make sure that I tee up every conversation and share just a little bit about the DNA makeup of Marketopia and why our makeup is literally built for your success. So really quick, what we live by is that our goal is to maximize growth for you, the partner, and also vendors in the channel, and really just do that through solving sales and marketing challenges that you might have. I'll talk about that in further detail in just a moment, but real quick on Marketopia. So we are a full service agency. We're made up of, I like to say, any hole that you might have for lead generation and marketing, we can support you with. So we have content development team, we've got tele team for outbound calling and appointment setting. We've got design, SEO, SEM, social, PR, events, video, data, and the list goes on. So anything that you might need help with when you're trying to grow your business, we can fill that gap. So why we are placed particularly in this section of the channel is that this is our background. So the company was founded 6 years ago, and we founded it on the premise that, knowing that MSPs really need help and partners need help in this MSP transformation, and that vendors need help getting in touch with you and helping enable you for growth. And that's what we do. So we help on both sides, and we position ourselves in the space to just have smart solutions for you and really tailor them around what you need and what's going to help you grow and what's best suited for you. So that's a little bit about who we are. We are based in sunny Florida, and the team is about 100 now, so 100 technology individuals, and we're happy to be here and help serve you. So a little bit of credibility down at the bottom. We're fast growing. I always say you need to make sure that the company that you partner with with is also doing the same things that they talk about. So it's just really important, whether it's a marketing partner or even a vendor that you partner with. I think it's always important to see what they've done for themselves so that they can help you. A little bit about us.
Awesome, Andra, thank you so much. And, just to speak to, Smith.ai, we have been around since 2015. As I mentioned, I'm the head of growth and education here. So I came in about 3 years ago. We have had exponential growth. It's really been incredible to see the response to our approach of virtual receptionists, which is omni-channel, first of all, so handling not only calls, but also chats, text, and Facebook messages, and really getting a lot done on those calls. So our North America-based live agents combine with AI so that we can focus the human intelligence on having a great conversation that's unscripted, and we can focus the AI on integrations with your software, with your workflows, with your calendaring systems, even billing systems to collect on payments that are due for whether it's deposits or payment collection. We are able to be that front line, that friendly face, so that when companies like Marketopia are driving leads and increasing the sort of awareness for your business, anyone who contacts your main number or other marketing numbers, if you're using services like CallRail, you know that you're tracking those campaigns that you're running. And it's really important that you answer every call with a friendly and also productive person, so that you're not just taking a message and saving that for later when you finally have time to get back to that person, and you're chasing those calls, which only half of them are going to be ever answered by a business number they see on caller ID because of spam and sales calls. And the problem is that when you have this inbound strategy, this marketing campaign where you are driving a ton of leads and you have a strong generation where your phone is ringing, but then your business needs to focus on delivering service, it's really important that you get time on just responding promptly, having the outsourced services that are available to you to focus on your work while we focus on the response. So we do scheduling, we do intake, we can schedule basic assessments if you have that with your clients. We can take payment for any sort of invoice that's due or deposit. And we also make outbound calls to follow up on those web leads who chat or text or send a Facebook message or email you, so that there's that immediate responsiveness both in English and Spanish 24/7. So, as we think about the business model and the marketing campaigns that are driving growth, one thing that Andra is going to talk a lot about are those channels that are really sending those leads your way in a repeatable, sort of scalable way. Andra's going to touch on a lot of examples of email marketing, lead magnets, ads, and social ads that really drive up interest and engagement for your business. Now, she will speak to, sort of the importance of lead generation in marketing as a top challenge.
Absolutely. So a couple of things I want to talk through, and I really appreciate this conversation between both of our companies, because one of the largest challenges, and I do have a one of the largest challenges from an MSP perspective that's always shared is lead generation and marketing really needing help from their front end sales all the way to the back end, MQL creation, marketing qualified lead. There's so many areas that support is needed from an MSP or a partner perspective. And it is constantly the #1 challenge on any survey given, or many of them that you will see out there in the market that you're responding to, is this is always the biggest challenge. This is always the room that's full when we're talking about marketing and sales and lead generation at events, because this is where the help is really needed. So one of the things I want to talk through is really discussing how to better understand the amount of leads needed to grow your business. So one of the things that we do at Marketopia, and we do this with all partners, is offer just an upfront assessment. We find that so many partners are really not focused on lead generation and marketing because it's confusing, it's overwhelming, they don't know where to start, the list goes on, and so they just don't start. And then some that have actually started to invest in marketing and understand that it's a very important piece of the business still need direction and need help and support, and they really are trying to understand how to best build out a strategy that makes sense for their business. So one, I would say if you don't know how many leads you need to grow your business, email me after. At the very end, you're going to see an email address that you can reach out to my team. We will actually give you just a document that will help you calculate that for yourself. And it's just really insightful. So as we go through really what it means to create a lead generation funnel for your business, it is all about this quick little these little circles on here that I have for you. It's a very easy way to talk through how to get something created, a lead created, a marketing qualified lead created. You need to generate that. You need to translate that into a sales qualified lead. You need to convert that into a deal that closes for your business. And then you need to continue to upsell and cross-sell those current clients. So this is what we're trying to do. And really where it falls down, and this is where 94% of MSPs share this, is that those MQLs just never get created. They're adding engineers to, you're adding engineers to your teams, you're adding sales reps to your teams, but you're not adding those marketing qualified leads to get generated to then work down your funnel. So we can click over to the next one, actually, Maddy, and I'll talk through this a little bit more.
So Andra, just one question that we had come in that I think is important to address maybe sooner rather than later. So you mentioned that you're generating leads for businesses as partners. There was a question around what does that mean as a partner? Is that your way of describing, your client relationship?
Sure. So a couple things. So anyone who is a client of Marketopia, we say that we are your partner for business growth. So when you're really looking at your team, we say that you as a managed service provider, as a VAR trying to become a managed service provider or a reseller, wherever you're at in your transformation process right now, we can couple on and overlay onto your strategy to be that lead generation partner. And when we say, again, partner can be used in so many different ways in our space. A lot of individuals say partner as an MSP partner or as a reseller partner. So as far as Marketopia is concerned, we become your partner to generate leads for your business.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Andra, because honestly, one of the things that we see also at Smith.ai is that when you are doing outsourced services and you're so ingrained with that other company who is technically a client, but you're working side by side, hand in hand with a constant feedback loop, partner really is the term that feels more natural and more accurate. So thank you for asking that question.
Absolutely. And I love that question too, because one of the, I tend to shy away even from the word outsource. I think ages ago, outsourcing became a funny term, and it doesn't always have the best connotation. Many times, you as a business owner or an influencer inside of your business might feel as though outsourcing, you lose that control or you lose that visibility or you lose your brand identity when you start to outsource items. And so one of the things that we think is extremely important, whether you're partnering with Smith.ai, Marketopia, or any other players in the channel, is that the type of relationship does need to be a partnership. And if it's not, that's where it starts to fall flat. The overlay onto your business needs to feel that ingrained. We always tell everyone, we should feel like we're a room away in your office and that we are your marketing agency, your lead generation teleteam, your BDRs, because we need to know everything going on in the business too, so that we can talk about that and it can be reflected inside of the marketing and lead generation that goes out. So absolutely.
Yeah, no, Andra, I think you make a really great point. Also, a partner relationship is a strategic one. It's not just an assignment. I think that oftentimes when we use the word partner, we think, okay, this is going to be collaborative. It's going to be strategic. We're going to come to these sort of understandings together. And then who carries it out? Sure, that's Marketopia. Sure, that's Smith.ai. But at the end of the day, there's a conversation that's being had, not an assignment.
Definitely. And I want to talk about a little more on this slide too. So we call this our growth philosophy. And this is something that we share out no matter who you are or what type of business you are. And obviously we utilize this inside of the channel because that's all we focus on and that's where we live. But this is what we believe every single business needs in order to grow. So we have a saying that we constantly share, and it's on here: more leads equals more sales equals more profit. And it really is just that simple. The more leads that you generate. So over here on the one side of the wheels and the gears, is developing those marketing qualified leads, as I shared. So you develop those through getting out content into the space, building out that brand awareness. And you can do that through many of the items that are attached to your website, any data or lists that you're going after to share your messaging, your strategy. What does that look like? Any marketing automation systems that you're utilizing to send out emails or videos that you're putting out on social strategies. That awareness and that brand recognition inside of creating marketing qualified leads is you definitely have to focus there as a starting point. Once you do that, then you get that interest that gets developed in your prospects and sometimes even in your current clients. They might not have known that you came up with another service offering. Well, they received an email that talked about it, and so now they know. And so you can get upsell, cross-sells from current clients. You can get referral partners where that awareness is important, and then also your prospects. So once those MQLs are created, those marketing qualified leads, then it should go over to a BDR or an appointment setter, someone in your organization or in another partner organization, a Marketopia somewhere, a Smith.ai, that someone can actually set that appointment for you to get it on the schedule for those sales reps. Then your sales reps have work to do. So oftentimes we have this conversation where, many MSPs are out there hiring sales reps and they're wanting the sales rep to be the BDR and the salesperson. And it gets very muddy. So we always suggest have someone setting that appointment for your sales rep. And then when you've got that awesome sales rep closer, then have them close the deal. And in sales enablement, you're going to need things for the sales rep to be successful. So that's what's around the sales gear. You're going to need additional training for them. You're going to need pitch decks for them. You're going to need sales hot sheets for them. You're going to need videos, things that they can share, testimonials, things that they can share to enable that sale to actually happen. And then once all those gears are turning and they spin each other, it goes up to the profit gear. You're converting them at that sales play. They're turning them into a deal, and then it's profit for your business. And then you continue to upsell, cross-sell your current clients. So this is the methodology that we believe in. And the goal is that at any one of these gears, there's opportunities to partner. You might have every single one of these taken care of inside of your business today. And if you did, I doubt you'd be on this webinar. But if you don't, those are all opportunities to partner with great companies like Marketopia, like Smith.ai. And one of the cool things that Maddy and I actually chat about is that once you start these gears turning, once you've got your brand awareness dredging up and you've got a lot of talk about you and you've got a lot of things happening, those leads are going to start to come inbound. And that's where the Smith.ai play comes in, because once phone calls start happening, we talk to MSPs all the time that they want those leads. Once they start getting the leads and they're on the calendar or they start getting inbound calls from websites, all of a sudden they're like, who's going to pick up this call? And that's where a Smith.ai comes in. And they can be that receptionist. They can be that person answering a chat or something else along those lines. And if it's a current client, that routes straight to you. If it's a prospect, that will route straight over to your tele BDR rep, be that internal or with us or a company like us. So just gives a little thought and philosophy. I'm happy to hear any of your thoughts or questions on that as well as we continue to dig through. I see some questions coming in, so keep them coming and we'll keep chatting.
Yeah, no, awesome, Andra. Thank you so much. And one of the other things that I'll touch on right here is that there is an important sort of behavioral training, habit building that happens very early on. And I think it's often not touched on, where you go from the initial capture or lead gen to MQL to SQL. You're getting these leads in and they are being handed off, and the habit is actually forming there that the handoff is okay, it's successful. You're going to talk to someone first who's on the front line, then to the sales rep who makes the deal happen, then to the actual service delivery, and maybe there's a support team, maybe there's a receptionist service, and it is okay because they are responsive to the needs that they cover. But the client gets used to, from the very beginning when they're just a baby lead, being transferred successfully to someone else on the team. So there are two things that are really important here. One, if you're using your cell phone and you let clients contact you at all times of day or night, or they're bothering your tech team who's super valuable for standard questions that are not technical, you're using up and consuming resources, you're reducing the boundaries with your clients and your business, and then you're also sort of setting yourself up for not so scalable growth. It's much better to set the stage very early on that you have someone who's going to schedule that appointment. The appointment is with a specialist. The assessment, the initial like work that's being done is with an expert. There is an expert support team, and they are used to being passed around. Your business seems much bigger than it actually even may be, but you train your clients for growth and the larger business that's in your future, because they have the peace of mind that when you say you're going to transfer and schedule them with someone else, that happens, and not all the work is on you, and they also show up for that next meeting. They trust that your team is on brand and you're a cohesive unit, but the whole burden is not just on you. So I think that that's really important training to do early on.
Absolutely. And again, it's all brand perception and client experience. And that is what's so important. You know, once you really start to put effort towards lead generation, which I'm really proud of everyone who is on the line, because you're on here because you are taking it very seriously and you're understanding what you're already doing very well, and then what it may look like to lean on a partner like, you know, one of our companies or others to help you. And so once you start taking it seriously, you can really start to go and do an audit. You know, I always suggest doing a quick audit of what you do have your bases covered on and what you don't, where you're falling flat. Oftentimes too, I'll share with MSP partners, call in yourself, have a friend of yours or someone come in and audit, just give a quick phone call, see what that client experience is.
Shop your business.
Exactly. And see how it feels to engage with your company.
Yes, I can't agree with you more, Andra. I mean, if you're not secret shopping your own number and listening to how you sound to your community, to those people who are going to be your biggest referral network, the best clients come from referrals, we all know. How do you sound? Are your clients happy? Are your leads getting an accurate response every time? Does it prompt? Because guess what? Leads demand quick replies. And that is the single biggest determining factor of whether or not you're going to win new business. Doesn't matter how much money you spend on your marketing campaigns if you don't pick up the phone, if you don't have website chat there on your website, because guess what? Most sites don't have search. They don't, you know, there's more content than ever. It's harder to navigate, and people have very low bandwidth for hunting for the information. So chat, calls, texting, they expect to be able to do all of this. If I can do it with CVS, if I can do it with a plumber, if I can do it in Yelp to contact multiple service providers of any industry, you better believe I'm going to expect it of any small business owner. And that's what we see in the data. So over 80% of consumers expect an immediate response. We know that 50% of lead generation budgets are wasted on leads who are never even contacted. That's a crime. You're spending all this money and then you're not even following up with the leads who are getting in touch and saying, I want to learn more at the very least. If not, I want to sign up. So we know that the competition who is in your market is doing all of this as well. So we're not saying there's a blame game here. We're saying like it doesn't actually take that much to stand out from the 80%, 79% of marketing leads never converting into sales. Well, if you're creating a really strong target audience strategy, if you're following up quickly, then that's not you. You're converting those marketing leads into sales because they're targeted, they're followed up with promptly, and there isn't this sort of chase of the callback where we know only 47% of incoming calls are answered. Well, why is that? It's because you need to get work done. People are busy during the day, now more so than ever, because they're taking care of multiple generations. They have their kids at home. They're now wearing a teacher hat. They're also elder care for their parents who are living longer. We have multiple generation households. We have two parents working full-time, more so now than ever. And as a result, you know, when the phone comes in and you see a strange number, you're probably not going to pick it up. So if they are calling you, that is your most important critical time to pick up the phone. It doesn't have to be you, but it does have to be someone who represents your business who can have that first conversation. Now, keeping in mind also the interruptions are costly, especially if there are some complexities to your lead generation and there may be leads who have, you know, consultations with firms or MSPs that they didn't hire. What's the result? The result is that there are assessments and consults that waste your time who are never going to convert, who should have been screened out of the process early. And that's something that when you talk to a company like Smith.ai or Marketopia, why did we talk about partnerships? We talk about partnerships because of the strategy side of the conversation. We're having that discussion where we say, who makes a good client for you? Where are you currently finding them? Where is the best outlet? Where are they coming from? What is the makeup and persona of the best client? How many seats do they have? What other characteristics do they share? Because that's going to go into your intake and onboarding strategy. You're not going to have phone calls scheduled. They don't get past that, like, marketing qualified lead stage, that first form, if they don't answer those questions correctly, and then your time is also better protected. So you're not answering the call.
Yes.
You're also not even having the consult if they are not a good lead for you.
Definitely. And one of the things I'll tag onto that too, Maddy, because I think it's important, is that I used to tell this to teams all the time, and to MSPs as well, is that not everyone deserves an hour of your time. And that's not harsh. That's the reality. And when you only have so many hours in a day, and so you have to work to understand who gets that full hour for an assessment, who gets that 30 minutes for a pre-qualifying call, who gets 15 minutes of maybe a telerep's time, or 10 minutes or 5 minutes, and you need to have a qualification funnel so that individual companies who maybe aren't there yet, not that there's anything wrong with them, but they're not there in the decision-making process yet in order to be gaining that much of your time. So in order to pre-qualify, then you're making sure that your time is best suited, and then any investments on your team that you're making, be it a sales rep or engineers or whoever it might be, that their time is being utilized in the best fashion as well.
No, I completely agree with you. And I'll touch on just one thing in this slide, because we have a lot of ground to cover here. One thing is that 67% of customers who receive excellent service spend up to 14% more. Well, what does that mean? It doesn't mean that you have to have your technical support team and you on the phones 24/7, always ready to pick up the phone at 3 a.m. Most people define excellent service and customer support as a prompt response that acknowledges their outreach, and then the proper triage. So if you have a team of receptionists, if you have an internal team and we're just backup, then you have this peace of mind that you're delivering excellent service through a prompt response, and then setting up the expectation that this is what I'm going to do with that information. I'm going to alert the team. They will get back to you as soon as possible. Any other details that can be provided at that point without making promises and without saying anything like, oh, I'm going to put you on hold and get, a technical support team member right now. That may not be in your workflow. The most important thing is to just acknowledge that someone has reached out and not send them to voicemail, even if it's after hours. It's really important that what we see is about 25% after hours and weekend communications, rising right now also due to COVID and the recession and people experiencing being stretched especially thin. So you'll imagine that people are more sensitive, a little bit more grumpy, a little bit more, triggered by bad experiences. Even more important to always just have a friendly response, acknowledge that person and tell them, hang tight, I'm on it. That team can then alert your team, and you can make the next step in following through with that support that's needed to deliver, or even with sales inquiries that you want to have that next step of setting up a consultation. So I really wanted to emphasize there that there is a prompt response, and that it does have a business impact. It's not just sort of a soft skill that's nice to have. The other really important thing is that we do find, and this is a benefit to generally the MSP industry, that professional services consumers are looking for a free initial consult. It's a very common thing in the industry to be able to offer that first conversation or assessment for free. But one of the challenges of free assessments is the flakiness that you get with some potential leads. So you want to make sure they have skin in the game, that they are scheduled. If you have people who are on the front lines and they have access to your calendar through Calendly, through Acuity, there are tons of scheduling tools that are available. Make sure that your frontline, your receptionists, your Marketopia sales reps have access to that calendar to schedule time directly, and even they could schedule time for themselves for a follow-up if now's not a good time, but making sure that they understand the services, they have skin in the game. Getting quickly to that consult is not necessarily the best step. You want to make sure that that person is sincere, because people are very willing to have consults. very willing to feel anonymous and then just cancel them or no show. And then what's happened? You've carved out 30 minutes or an hour or whatever time frame you carve out for that. You know, during non-COVID times, you're probably traveling to their office. Well, shoot, now you've just lost that time due to someone being inconsiderate, but it could have been prevented if you had asked a few more questions and really got that buy-in early on and made sure that they know they're a fit just as well as you know that they're a fit. And here's sort of the funnel that Andra was talking about before. You know, the outsourcing, you know, from the Smith.ai perspective fits a little bit in the middle of the funnel, whereas, you know, their team is really focused on the top of the funnel. Where are you generating leads from? Awareness, nurturing with content, and then again during that service delivery, triaging those tickets that come in. And actually, one hack here that's kind of cool is to say you can even offer, and we see this with some of our clients, a VIP service tier where you have a special line that's staffed by your service, your receptionist, who, yes, there is a cost incurred with that service, but you're more than offsetting it by having it be a VIP service tier where they know they're always getting that 24/7 service from you, from your team. Andra, did you have anything to add here before I move on?
The only thing I would kind of double click on that you mentioned is that ability to make sure that you're giving a touch. You know, one of the things, and this was even a couple of slides back, but it's so important to just restate, is that once you get what you want, right? Everyone says they want more leads, but the problem is once you get that and they are calling in and they're doing things, you're more apt to, in your team, especially if you're not that large yet, are going to go to that lowest hanging fruit. They're going to give attention to the deals that look like they're probably going to close. And those others that maybe just needed nurtured, they're going to fall off on the back and dwindle away. And that was really your next pipeline. So what Maddy is sharing is that there are nets to make them fall into these leads that they can continue to get nurtured and not ignored. And so a touch is better than no touch. And even if you do it like Maddy was saying, where there's just qualifications, right? You're continuing to qualify who gets what type of time. So I think it's extremely, extremely important. And those VIP service offerings for net new revenue sources are wonderful too.
Thanks, Andra. And you know, one thing that I'll also mention here really quickly while it's on my mind is that it's not just about the initial response. You know, I'm thinking about our experience. Actually, we've worked with Marketopia. I can absolutely vouch for the quality of the people who work for that company. And actually, it's funny, Andra, I didn't know that you're at 100. We're just over 100 too. It's nice to be in step with you. And the funny thing is that you may not realize, you know, we talked about the callback attempts and only 50% really make a connection. It actually takes 6 or more call attempts to have over a 90% confidence interval that you have connected with that lead or they are going to ever respond to you. So, and Andra, I'm sure you can speak to this more, but it's not just one, it's not just two, it's not just a call and an email and maybe if you dare a text. You know, it's actually a lot of attempts, and probably more so now than ever because people say, hang on, I'm not really ready for this, but I may be in the future. That's not a no, it's just a deferment.
Absolutely. And this is where, you know, I always try to share with partners not to get overwhelmed with how many touches it takes. Just get educated with how many touches it takes and figure out and sort out how you can ensure that you are doing that with your prospects that you're trying to get in touch with. So when it comes to even the outbound calling telepiece, sometimes you're calling 4 times before you're actually getting someone on the line, much less getting that person to say that they actually want to give you some of their time. Now, when it comes to brand awareness, it's 20 plus attempts in our space right now, B2B in tech, before your brand really starts to click with someone. So think about that. So if you're only doing tele, that's only 4 touches maybe if you're actually giving all 4 touches. So it's really important to just layer these items on top of each other and do them together. And again, find partners if you need to, or do them internally together so that you can make sure that you're continuing to be top of mind. Lead generation is definitely far from a one-touch approach or a, hey, I tried that once upon a time and it just didn't work because we made a few phone calls. So it is, you've got to keep going, you've got to stay consistent, and you've got to keep refining the approach.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think be engaged in the process. And you know, it's funny, Andra, there was a time when it was like just 7 was the magic number of follow-up, and now it's, or exposure to your brand, and now it's 20, with 6 just on follow-up alone after the lead has expressed interest. So, you know, if you haven't been cultivating patience and, you know, digging your heels in and investing in the process, now is really the time, because when leads are ready to convert, if you have been nurturing that relationship, if you have been sticking it through, you're going to be the one that they hire, that they bring on, that they make a payment to, because you're the one who really persisted. And what we see right now, COVID or not, but especially in COVID, the persistent brands really are the ones who become sort of the trusted ones, who still have a place in the email inbox, still have that phone call that they're going to make a call back to. So it's really important that, you know, you don't impose feelings or fears of being a nuisance, which we often hear with our clients and partners. You know, there is a concern, oh, am I going to be a nuisance if I follow up this much? Not at all. Let them communicate that to you, which they really won't. It is an unfounded fear a lot of the time. And then the other thing that I'll focus on is the importance of outbound. So not everyone has like time in that moment, and sometimes you're sort of late at night or right before dinner or while the pasta is boiling, trying to like do the outreach that's been on your to-do list to work with a new firm, any sort of service provider, right? And what we see is that, you know, maybe there's an initial touch point or conversation, they shoot off an email to you and they're like, oh, I'll get a response and I'll go back to it later. They start chatting on your website, they fill out a form, they call and almost expect to receive voicemail. It's actually really important that when they text or chat or email or any of these text-based communications, even the online form fill, it's really important that you promptly follow up and deliver that sort of responsiveness that they would get if they called, so that you can demonstrate that you are a responsive business, and also that sets the stage for when they're a client, what to expect in terms of that responsiveness. Again, it doesn't have to be you, but imagine that it's not just, you know, chats or contact forms. It's also you're downloading a guide that you created, and you use the Facebook new lead magnet form where it auto-populates their information. They immediately get that. You immediately get that contact information from Facebook or from the landing page on your website. Call those people back. As soon as you get that email trigger, you know, set up, don't just forward it. That's a manual task that you don't need to do. Have an email forwarding setup, or have a Zap that allows you to send that to the assigned team, and that will be on their plate for an immediate callback. And express and filter early and often, right? So if that person just downloaded the PDF, and you know, you've got a whole host of people who you're calling back and they say, oh, I didn't really realize what I was getting into, I'm not really interested, you'll know quickly, and your front line will know quickly how to sort of suss out the people who are sincere or not. Weed them out early. Don't necessarily chase people who have indicated, I don't really have an interest in your business. You can put them on your general newsletter list, but that's not the chase. But if you follow up quickly, you will at least capitalize on where there is momentum, where there is interest, because if you wait a couple of days, you might get a false negative, which is, oh, I don't really remember, I don't have time for you, I'm not picking this up, it's not fresh in my mind. Whereas if you had followed up promptly, you would get that initial reaction where, oh yeah, that paper was really interesting to me, that calculator you created on your website was really helpful for me. Yeah, I would like to talk, let's schedule time. Great. Done. Now you've got your pipeline. So filter that first step really early if you are using lead magnets like that, and determine if they're quality leads or if they're sort of passive in your audience. So, you know, the other thing that's really important, and I know, Andra, this is important for you guys, we've worked together, is that, you know, you're working with the tools that your clients want. You know, there are a lot of people who are reselling here. There are a lot of people who are referring here. You yourself use systems that maybe you resell to your clients, maybe you just like internally, whether that's Slack or Calendly or Salesforce or HubSpot, you name it. Zapier is fantastic. you know, both Smith.ai and Marketopia really feel strongly that it's important that whoever your partner or provider is integrates with your systems. And that allows for prompt, automated follow through of workflows, less manual work for you, and just more seamless integration when you are, if I can use that dirty word, outsourcing. It feels more ingrained. It feels more like a partnership if you don't have a whole bunch of stacks of messages to review at the end of the day. It's already in your system. And it's already reflected in your reports. It's already reflected to the rest of your team in their go-do list. So that's very powerful. It also relieves a lot of the burden for the business owner, for the team leader, to make sure that the teams are getting the assignments they need. As long as your workflows are in place, the data's coming in. If it matches the criteria, it takes that next step without your involvement.
Definitely. I think from an integration perspective with any type of outsourced partner or overlay partner, or however you'd like to phrase it, the integration piece is so crucial. I mean, let's face it, we're in the tech space, and we need to be savvy with, we shouldn't be doing things, you know, old school and slinging spreadsheets and you know, sending emails with all these attachments. I mean, we live in a time now and we're in this space. So we need to make sure that we're utilizing the systems that are at our disposal that are really commoditized. I mean, these are highly affordable and very, very easy to start to put in play inside of your business. And then two, back to what Maddy was saying, any partner that you're going to have latch on to what your business is already doing, make sure that they can integrate so that you don't lose visibility to what's going on. Just like Maddy was saying on the front end with a lot of those automation systems and your PSA tools and making sure that that visibility is working. The same thing happens on the marketing side. So the elements of lead generation, once it turns over to a certain type of lead, then obviously sales needs visibility to it, and not too soon either, because if it's too soon, we're wasting time. We're getting hyped up about things that aren't really mature enough yet. But once it gets to that SQL, then they gain visibility and they're able to follow up and do what they need to do, be it an appointment on the calendar, or it bubbles up as far as the heat level inside of your automation tool. So it's automation and integration is highly important.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'll just sort of, you know, transition back over to Andra in a second, but I wanted to highlight one thing. You know, we talked about scheduling, super important. I sort of skipped over that slide. There is also the importance of knowing that the more channels you open up, there are net new leads on there. So if you think, you know, I've got a phone number, someone's going to hunt it down, that's the way they're going to reach me. If you open up chat, if you open up SMS, I mean, almost every VoIP system has SMS now at this point. There's really no excuse. But having those answered for you, having chats answered for you, ends up generating per channel 20 to 30% more leads. So you can expect if you're getting, you know, 4 calls, there's 1 new chat that happens. That's a significant improvement in the lead generation that can flow through just by saying, I'm going to open that door, I'm going to open that door, and that one too. And it allows more leads to come through. They're not going to hunt down and try and call you if they only have a moment to sort of text, or they're used to it, or they prefer it, or they're on Facebook, they got a recommendation to your business, and they're going to send you a Facebook message, right? So be within the channel where people are operating, and you'll find that there are new leads who come through, and not just the same lead who would call, now also engaging on that other channel. So we can talk about, you know, the difference of live chat, chatbots another time. The most important thing is that you actually have it. And one hack that I'll share with you, and it goes back to your content strategy. So you would do all this, and then you would share it with Andra's team and say, I've got chat and I'm seeing all these conversations within the chat transcripts, and they keep asking about this subject and this other subject, and how do I handle cybersecurity, and how do I handle remote work, all of these different topics. And if they keep asking about this, that's typically those keywords that they're plugging into Google search that those not provided keywords don't give to you anymore. And you can use those to create blog posts. You can use those to create white papers and share that information with Marketopia to say, hey, in the lead gen work that we're doing, I think we need to touch on these topics, because those are the topics that people are asking me about in chat, and those turn into the best potential clients once I convert them from chat. So you really start to see the whole ecosystem working here, and that feedback loop being created. So this is an example of a chat. The last thing that I'll sort of leave you with before moving, back to Andra is like, consider the Eisenhower decision matrix. So is it important? Is it urgent? Can you hand it off and delegate it? Delegated teams are your friend, and it is a habit that we were talking about, client habits. It's really critical that you build those habits for yourself as well, so that you can scale and grow your business, and you're not working more as your revenue grows, you're working less as your revenue grows, because you're comfortable handing off that work. So I'm happy to share this slide deck with everyone who's here. I'll share it by email afterwards, or email me, which I'll provide later. The Eisenhower Decision Matrix worksheet, and then areas of high impact for handing off communication tasks to these different teams. What are the communication opportunities? Who are you targeting? And thinking back to that Eisenhower Decision Matrix, where you're delegating, or you're doing it yourself, but you're at least deciding, am I going to do it? Am I going to schedule it for later? Am I going to delegate it? Or do I not care about it so much anymore? I have bigger fish to fry. So how do you determine what fish to fry? Andra's going to talk about, getting these leads into the funnel and driving the best, most high quality growth for your business.
So I love the decision matrix, and I think that this is something I've incorporated that into some things historically, and I hear so many people bringing it up, and Smith.ai too. And I think it's so important, especially with what we're talking about right now, because one of the things that we always try to share is do what you're really good at, and make sure that you're really good at aligning and understanding what you're good at and the players in the game that you have internally on your team. All teams, although you may all be MSPs sitting here on the line, all teams are made up different, and your team DNA is different than the next company's team DNA. So understanding what you've got in your internal arsenal as far as a team and skill set is concerned is so incredibly important. And so as we kind of dig into this, and it's okay, you can flip to the next one, as we dig into how companies can help your strategy. Once you know what you're really good at, then you can start identifying, okay, great, well, I'm kind of wearing this hat over here too, but it's not in my best interest because I really need to be making sure I'm overlaying on the sales team and closing deals. So I need to outsource this over here. Or, hey, internally, we've got a really good BDR team, but we actually need sales reps, or vice versa. So there's so many things that you need to be analyzing as you go through and understand how you're going to really attack Q3, Q4, and into 2021. So one of the things that we always love to share is really that in versus out as far as a team is concerned. So whether you do it in-house or you take it outside and you have an overlay team like a Marketopia, Smith.ai, and others, this is just a quick look from a marketing perspective. And this is not even the half of what you really need to build out a stellar internal marketing and lead gen team. So obviously here we've got, on average for a web designer, a copywriter, a marketing automation system, a dedicated BDR rep. You also are missing paid ads. That's a science. You've got just other content development just outside of just copywriting. You've got so many things that you need in today's world to build out a really, really great automation, like an automated internal marketing team. Video's not in here, social strategy. There's so much. So even with just these little items right here, outsourcing it versus doing it in-house is a significant cost savings. So as you're looking to grow, the reason why we like to share slides like this, and this is just one of many that we have, but it's so incredibly important so that you can really look apples to apples and say, wow, where am I best suited to be spending the investment or your revenue that you're putting back in the business as investments. So the way that we divvy it up, and three areas that we think are extremely important, is obviously marketing services. That goes back to that brand awareness. What are you doing right now to put your brand out there at the forefront, to stay relevant during COVID times? Maddy mentioned that a lot of companies are retreating. They're saying, wow, I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to be out there. That just means that there is more wide open space for you to be putting your brand out there. The competition is less, is what that means. So you need to make sure that you're really getting buttoned up internally, and you're getting a strategy in place to start infiltrating the market and making sure that your brand is staying present. There's lots of ideas around that. I'm happy to talk with any one of you offline about different things that you can do inside of your business to stay relevant relevant right now. Appointment setting, again, another piece, and then sales enablement. So I mentioned it early on in this conversation, but that sales enablement piece is so important too, because again, once you get what you want, you've got some marketing going out, maybe you've got some amazing ads that are out there. But if they go back to your website and your website is old and it's not a good reflection of who you are now, or if they finally get on that appointment with your sales team and they're going through a deck that really just is not impressive and the contract really is confusing, or whatever the case may be, you lose that lead. So I always say, once you're putting in this effort and you're investing, make sure that you're following that trail of client experience or prospect experience, and you're making sure that it's what you really want them to be feeling and observing as far as working with your company.
Yeah, one thing that I'll mention there, Andra, is just if you have not mapped out your current setup, like how leads are coming through, the top channels, not a big deal. What happens after there is contact made? Is there follow through? What are the decision-making points? And then what is the delivery of information? If you don't have that map, that asset sort of map, that touch point, that level of responsibility for each stage, that is the very first step for you to identify sort of the gaps. And that's what Andra is talking about. Like, you can only, with her, obviously identify that map, you know, together, but it's probably going to be very illuminating to see, you know, there are areas where I haven't even considered. I haven't even considered a sales deck. I have everything just on the phone. What sort of empowerment is available to you? What conversion rate is open to you if you have Zoom calls with a deck and have that engaging content, and you see and deliver proof in addition to just like having that call and running through your laundry list of the services that you provide? It's really powerful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you scroll down to the next one too, I want to show you a couple of things. So when you really do start to say, okay, great, you know, here's just a multitude, a portfolio of different types of services. When you really do internally on your side start to look through what you need, it's important too to look at the type of quality that you're looking for. So whether it's, you know, email campaigns, and you're really talking through the type of lead generation efforts and the type of drip campaign nurture that you want to take someone on, really start mapping this out. So here are some examples of just things from Marketopia's house and things that I think are really important. So the last one that we were just on, it's okay, you don't have to go back, but having assets, right? Having those items that can be downloaded from your website, having those information and education resources. You know, the majority of prospects educate themselves before they ever even talk to a sales rep. So I always say you don't even know the leads that you're missing out on because they went to your site and they really didn't even get the information they wanted. So you don't even have visibility to it. So you need to make sure that that first impression is awesome and that you're enabling prospects to educate themselves just like you would if you were going to buy something. So I always
imagine like your comfort level also, Andra, if like you're just from an outside perspective to Marketopia, my comfort level immediately increases as a potential client or partner when you've produced the content that you're then going to put a sales rep on the phone to
Absolutely.
discuss. You know, you have that internal knowledge, you're investing in a singular company to create the assets and then to distribute the knowledge and information. That's very empowering, and also it's way less time for the partners. Anyone who's on the phone right now who's thinking, this sounds like so much work to get started, it is so much work to get started with each of these handled by a different agency, by a different outsourced singular person or company. Having all of it under one roof means that you train one team one time and they distribute that knowledge as managers of it to the different people who are then contributing to your growth. That is extremely impactful.
Absolutely. And Russell, I love your question because I think that just for those that might not see Russell's item in chat. So Russell is asking, you know, now that we're in these COVID times, how important is SEO, search engine optimization, and how important is digital marketing? And I would say it should be at the forefront of your strategy. One of the things that just due to the nature of how we can interact with prospects now. So what COVID quarantine era, what this has done for companies like yourselves is that if you were always relying on going out to that chamber event or going out and grabbing coffee at Starbucks and you were just meeting, you know, a dentist in line and you could start to offer managed services to them, this has really taken your digital strategy to the next level. If you didn't have a digital strategy, it's making you start to think for the first time, oh man, I really need to take my website seriously. I got to relook at what I even look like as far as a digital footprint is concerned. And so I would say it is at the forefront, because right now, those are the avenues that any prospect is going to search on. They're looking at social. They're looking at your social media presence, be that on Facebook or LinkedIn. I could talk forever on LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is massively important in B2B. They're looking at what your website looks like, and they're doing research. So again, if you don't have those assets out there, it's extremely, extremely important. And so I would say, Russell, what I would do if I were you or anyone else on the line is go and just do a quick check. And if you send me a note, I'll give you some information back too. Go and do a quick check to see how your SEO results are coming up, what you're ranking for, see how your site speed looks, do some just basic 101 auditing of your digital footprint, and have a good understanding of what that experience looks like and how you're getting found, so that you can see what your starting point is to start to revamp what you've got going on. Video, and you can cruise through this one, video is huge. So as you're going about that digital footprint, Russell, and anyone else on the line, it is really important that you're engaging and you're standing out from the crowd. So now everyone is doing that too, is saying, okay, great, how do we ensure that we're out there digitally? Well, it's important because now everyone's going to be out there digitally. So now you need to make sure that whatever you're putting out there is going to stand out from the other person. So this goes into all of it. There's some blog examples in here. There were some website examples, infographics, again, sell sheets. Just, you really need to be thinking through what you're going to put out as that bait to start attracting the prospects that you're really interested in engaging with. So happy to answer any additional questions around that. And Russell says that's a good point on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn, if you're not really engaging on LinkedIn, I call it the new email of B2B, the new Google of B2B. It is so powerful. So jump out there too and make sure that your own personal brand and your business brand are on point.
Yeah, I completely agree. And one thing, Andra, that I'll also mention, there are a lot of Facebook groups that we're seeing, but that is an area of business engagement that we're seeing on Facebook. But the last thing that I'll mention is there is also this sort of like cadence that you need to maintain right now. So what consumers and businesses are looking at is, who are the other businesses that are surviving or thriving, or fake it till you make it thriving right now, right? Like, are you stable? Can a new client come and work with you because they have faith that you're going to be around in a month, in 3 months, in 6 months? So it's critical that you have not only this content that's being produced, videos and core content like sell sheets on your website, but videos. And if you're engaging on LinkedIn, if you're engaging on Facebook, that you have a schedule and you stick to it, and you stick to it often, because you're only as good as yesterday or today. So if you did something a week ago, it's forgotten. You need to really stay with presence of mind and make sure that you're frequently updating those channels. And that's something that also, you can hand off those tasks. It doesn't have to be you. You can send ideas that are executed, but you don't have to be literally the one who's posting on Facebook for your company.
Absolutely.
So, we're wrapping up right now. We have 3 minutes left. So, we've spent a lot of time talking about the various services and the importance of prompt client communications and information at the outset, so you're capturing really qualified leads and bringing them swiftly through the funnel as they have an appetite to be carried through that funnel, as they're sort of steering that themselves. And the impact here is significant. So you expand your team's reach. You can have a lot of these things in addition to your internal teams. It doesn't have to be a replacement. Andra and I are never ever saying let anyone go. They are probably more valuable to you in other ways and don't have to do as much of the routine tasks that you can hand off. So that's really something important. It's also important that you're able to deliver consistently around the clock based on people's schedules shifting. People are, paying more attention to business on weekends and evenings now because they're spread thin. That doesn't mean that you have to completely get rid of your work-life balance. How do you outsource to extend your resources, your hours, your capacity, not burn out your team and yourself, increase the productivity of your own business, and at a cost that scales because you're paying for actually the delivery of the work, which typically you're not doing with staff. So let them focus on the things that they are most suited to deliver, and then hand off the things that can be paid based on conversion, based on activity, based on phone calls, based on generation of assets, these content assets that then can be used by your team for effective approaches. So, just a tiny bit about Smith.ai, as I mentioned, we are 24/7 North America based receptionists powered by AI to drive those integrations, to block spam calls for free, to make sure that the workflow is handled in a non-scripted but steered way with someone who sounds like they are at work in your office in-house, and capable of handling any workflow that you can think of to bring in that new lead and direct them to your business so that they are screened and qualified after companies like Marketopia have generated that noise and interest and groundswell for your business. We offer a 20-call, 20-chat free trial. There is additional Facebook Messenger and chat setup that can be offered with so SMS and Facebook are included with every live chat plan, which is at no additional cost. So we can set up your website chat and handle those other social media and SMS channels that are important to you, as we've discussed. And getting set up is really easy. We work with every website provider, every VoIP provider, you name your cloud phone system, we can set it up. And it's completely free with that trial, and then it's month to month thereafter. So you're not making a huge commitment, and it is flexible in that we can answer all calls or just overflow for you. So you maintain complete control the entire time with optional add-ons based to suit your needs. So if you say, I need appointment booking, I don't need payment collection, you only pay for what you use. So if you're interested, Andra and I have put together and by the way, we also have reseller programs. We can discuss that if you're interested in getting in touch with us so that you can offset the cost of your own services, or choose, instead of account credits, to have a cash payout for our reseller and referral programs where we are offering complete support. It's very light work for you. Some reviews online for both Marketopia and Smith.ai, 5-star reviews across the board. Super important that you're choosing a partner, again, we're using that word, that is aligned to your quality that your clients demand. It should be seamless and 5-star all the way through. So we do have a little information here on the reseller programs. Get in touch with me to learn more about that. The offer that we have is that for a client, you'll get a 20-call, 20-chat free trial. You'll also get $100 off your first month with code Marketopia. And if you become a partner, you also get 2 free months of the starter plan for both calls and chats, which is a $560 value for free. And you can choose to apply any credits from referrals or reseller activities as account credits for your own service or cash payouts for your referrals. And I will come back to this in a second so Andra can talk about her own offer. But to get in touch with us and to review our reputation, please check out Trustpilot, please check out Clutch and Capterra. We have a lot of case studies on there, and I really want you to see it and hear it in their own words of our clients and partners. When you're ready, visit our website, call us, chat with us online, or email us at hello@smith.ai. And Andra, I'd love for you to share your offer as well.
Sure. So on the Marketopia side of the house, one of the things that we're doing right now during COVID is really just trying to alleviate a lot of the investment stressors that I know a lot of partners are feeling. So we're doing some really unique things to offset these type of investments where we know you want to grow right now, we know you want to partner right now, but what we're doing is offsetting it. So right now we call it the 50-25-25. This means that any program that you are buying into and investing into the partnership with Marketopia. It's a subscription program. There's many different flavors and custom things that we can do together. So the first month is 50% off, second month is 25, third month is 25, and then you go into normal subscription. So we're doing a lot of very cool things, trying to support you the best ways that we possibly can. And I would definitely suggest reach out to us. There's not an email on here, but you can either go to our website, Marketopia.com, and fill out a form there, hello@marketopia.com, and my personal email is andra.hedden@marketopia.com. So feel free to reach out any number of ways that you'd like, or call us directly, and we will absolutely help you any way that we can.
Wonderful. All right. Well, everyone, thank you for joining us. I'm really excited that you spent all this time with us and excited for what is to come as you implement these best practices at your companies.